channel. I know it's been a little minute since I've uploaded last, but unfortunately I was getting over some unfortunate sickness, and yeah, I just needed a little bit of time to recover. But I am back, and yeah, unfortunately today I'm not doing reaction. I was pondering stuff while I was being ill, and I think for a lot of us, when it comes to the winter period, the winter season, and sort of, when, well, the new year comes and next year rolls around, I feel like perhaps for anyone who might be like me, you start to have a lot of thoughts about the future and life in general, and just a lot of stuff. And usually I don't like to talk about these kind of topics on this channel, just because I want to try and keep, this channel more just about music, metal, and stuff like this. So I try to keep the more esoteric topics on the second channel. But I thought this relates to sort of metal and this kind of theme, I suppose, just because, I don't know, I feel like metalheads, we, a lot of the time, are quite particular in a lot of ways. I don't want to delve too deep into like explaining the similarities between metalheads and whatnot, but I don't know, I feel like especially with black metal, the themes are quite, in general, depressing. Sometimes it's about, like fantasy, like grim reapers and ghouls running about and, murdering the young and innocent, or whatever it might be. But of course, the themes of metal tend to be quite varied, but usually quite dark in some interesting way. And to translate that into my topic today, perhaps it's a far stretch, but I'll try. I've been thinking about a concept that I don't know if this is out there already, but I'm going to coin it the devil's pill, or Lucifer's light. Now, this is slightly attached to black metal, I suppose, because of the satanic leanings. But this concept has been sort of plaguing my mind, and I've been wanting to make a video about this for quite a few days. I've just been super ill, and after being super ill, being super busy, so it's been hard to find the time to make it. I don't have any notes for this, I don't have any sort of thing to look at. It's basically just coming from my rambles. So yeah, for those of you who are just here for the reaction, or perhaps just for the music, maybe you can skip this one just because it is quite rambly and perhaps quite long eventually. But yeah, I'm going to try and cut this down to at least 15 minutes if I can, perhaps shorter. But where to start with the actual topic? Lucifer's light and the devil's pill, what does this all mean? I'm sure a lot of people out there have heard about like the black pill and the red pill and all this kind of matrix stuff, where basically it's like different outlooks of life, and whatever pill you take, has sort of a consequence of how you look at life. For example, I believe the red pill is supposed to be more the harsh realities of the world that you accept, right? The blue pill is more like you just kind of remain ignorant and sort of live life without really knowing the truth. I think that's kind of the differences between the pill. I know there's the black pill, which a lot of people, I think it's more the pill of just ultimate sadness. But I try to keep things positive, and of course, a lot of people, I feel like, not everybody should be doing it or everybody's on this, but I feel like a lot of guys these days are seeing like a lot of things about self-improvement and this kind of walk of life where people are trying to find their own meaning in life. And I've spoken about having some sort of meaning in life a few times, but I feel like it's definitely becoming more important because a lot of people see that you can find success, especially with the internet these days. There are a lot of people, young people like us, or perhaps even older, people of all different walks of life, I must say, are making success by doing really not anything too important online, and they make a lot of money. And I feel like the day of technology that we have, there is a lot of wanting to sort of escape the harshness of the world. And of course, there are a lot of people doing it in crazy ways that would never be possible, 10, 20 years ago perhaps. I feel like because it's the new year, you know, a lot of people are going to start making goals and perhaps wanting to change certain habits or bad things that they do. Number one, I'm going to say right now that I am definitely not the person to come across as somebody being the angelic light of discipline and hard work and all this kind of stuff. I try to do the things that I know I should do. Perhaps some of those things for me would be, they're trying to play music and stay motivated to do that and go to the gym, this kind of stuff, you know, very basic things, you know, not like trying to learn academia and science and all this kind of stuff, you know. It's not my field. But I think everybody has their own things of what they would like to do and perhaps pursue. So what I'm trying to say is, with all this new year stuff that comes around, I like to add something, and it's just called the devil's pill. The reason why I call it the devil's pill is because I feel like out there right now there's a lot of things that people will falsely claim and falsely, how to say, yeah, the devil's pill is basically, it's about ultimate acceptance of the reality of the world. I feel like you have priests of all castes. I don't just mean priests of religion, but I mean priests of social politics, or priests of, you know, abnormalities. Just, you have priests, and when I say priests, it's basically people who will preach to you about things that they say they care about, but perhaps they do not even care about that. They just want to say certain things to look good, and I feel like they're not really being themselves. They're not really being the true selves, you know. And I would say that, you know, Lucifer's light basically it is about ultimate acceptance of yourself, you know, of the world around you, of other people. I feel like everybody wants people to be like them, yet if everybody tries to be like somebody else, nobody is being themselves, and it sounds very basic. Like, it sounds very basic, but again, when it comes to things like even black metal, you know, like I talked about this NSBM stuff a long time ago, maybe last year, and for some reason this video is fairly, well, I say popular, but to me, you know, 7,000 whatever, it's quite a high number to me. And it's the same thing, you know. You will have people that will like abhorrently rage against it when it doesn't really affect them in any way. And again, I'm not saying I'm a fan of NSBM. I think it's quite abhorrent, to be fair. I mean, because I like to think I try to be kind and understanding towards all people, so I try not to hold hatred towards people who are different just because they hold different views from me. I feel like Lucifer's light is about understanding that the world will always be of things and people that are different. We have different creatures walking this planet right now that are not human, and we are terrible to them, and we are terrible to other people because they're different from us. And again, I think the ultimate fact of reality is that it's supposed to be different. We are supposed to be different. We're not all supposed to be the same being. I think part of this experience of life that we have now, it's the fact that, well, I don't want to get super hippie, but you know, like, if you have a notion in your head that life doesn't just end with this one, and that there perhaps are other things out there, you know, I feel like if that is the case, then people would incarnate here to experience different. If everyone's always talking about the universal principle, you know, we are all one, this kind of principle. I feel like, yeah, if we were these, you know, eternal spiritual beings, whatever, and again, this is sounding super hippie, I'm not saying this is fact, I'm just saying, if that is the case, then to be here now means to be here as yourself and experience life through your own sort of image. I think the basic principle, because I rambled, I'm definitely gonna have to cut this down a lot. I think the basic principle of Lucifer's light is that a lot of people like to hold hate in their heart for people that are different from them, just because the fact that it might not be something that is perceived as normal by, you know, some section of the population. And this really goes for everything, honestly. I feel like with being some sort of metal person, you're already on the alternate fringe of life. So I feel like already a lot of metalheads tend to be more, I don't like to use the word open-minded, but I suppose I will use it in this case. Even for me, there are many things that I find extremely strange in the modern culture these days, but I'm not going to be the one to tell people to not live the life that they wish, even if I perceive it as being wrong. If it harms nobody else, do as thou will. And even if I see something as being wrong in terms of, it's not doing something that is physically harming somebody else, whatever they do, all parties involved are agreeing to that situation, then I feel like you kind of must let people live the way they wish and not interfere, as long as it's not harming you or the world around you. And of course, I understand the need for there to be social cohesion to some extent, but that extent only really applies to, well, at least, I live in the UK, in, South England, whatever. When I think about, people are wanting people to be a certain way for the overarching good of social normality and, whatever culture that you're a part of, I feel like we're missing a lot of things. Social culture doesn't just mean forcing everybody to be like you. That's kind of what religion done for a very long time. And honestly, I don't want to go back to those times. I don't want to be branded an apostate and be crucified or whatever. I feel like those times are very interesting to read about, but not something that I'm trying to return right here. No matter what part or what group you consider yourself to be in, ultimately you are alone. You're going to die on your own. And whatever lies next after you die is a mystery to every human being that has ever walked on the face of this planet. So Lucifer's light, the devil's pill, again, to sort of break down what I'm trying to say here. With this new year coming, ultimately embrace yourself and, find your own path to whatever legendary status you wish to become. The world is full of interesting things that you can do. You never know where you could go unless you take the steps towards where you've wanted to always go. Don't let other people force you to do things or to take up a certain occupation, whatever it might be. I'm not saying that in life sometimes it's necessary to do things that you don't enjoy, but that is the trouble with life for everybody who's ever walked on this planet, is to find some way through society. I think that's what we all do, and I think the ultimate acceptance of that is to be less judgmental for somebody whose life you've never lived. Of course, I'm not saying that you can never judge people. I'm constantly judging people, but I try not to hold my own personal judgments on other people because they're not living my life. People are different. We are human beings, but we're not all the same. We're not all equal on all terms, There's going to be a billion guys who are stronger at me in the bench press compared to me, I've never claimed to be super strong. I think my strength is very mediocre when it comes to the gym or even fighting. I don't claim to be a tough guy or the manly man or anything like this. I'm just me. That's just the way it is. You have to come to accept that at some point. You are born the way you are, and that is nature's gift to you. Some people have more gifts than other people. It is just the way it is. You cannot change it. Even if you try to change it, it's not really ultimately changing anything because you have not really accepted yourself. And again, this is you can say, of course, somebody born with some super rare disease that doesn't cure it because they want to cradle their natural born ability or whatever it might be. Again, I'm saying this all with being reasonable in your mind. I'm not saying that you should let everybody be okay. If somebody is murdering somebody down the street, I guess that goes against the principle because that involves somebody else getting harmed. But I feel like I've explained this to a point where perhaps it's understandable. Even I don't know. This is why I don't like to speak about very in-depth topics, just because I am not the best person to explain these philosophical views all the time. I just like to ramble about it, and perhaps, yeah, perhaps somebody enjoys what I've said. Um, but so that is the devil's pill. Basically, it's about ultimate acceptance of the nature of your life and reality. I'm not saying that life is fair. It just is what it is. Some people will be in better circumstances than others, just by the right of life being the way it is. You know, not everyone's born equal in this great society. You know, ultimately the world is chaos, and with civilization we've kind of made it a bit more safe, but it's still chaos. You know, even within civilization, the world still holds a lot of chaos out there, and it's up to you to master the elements of that chaos and make it your own. And those are the people who can master that chaos. I really believe they are the true magicians. You know, they've figured out something that, you know, I haven't, or other people that haven't figured out. So to thrive in your environment is kind of magic, I would say. And again, that's going very deep, but I feel like I've somewhat explained this well. So for anyone who's thinking, or who's thinking about taking steps to change things, or to walk on a better path than they have the last year or so, or to just, you know, go in a gym or something, you know, I always recommend people to start with physical training. Yeah, I don't want to tag along and be the self-improvement guy, but you know, some people will watch this and like some stuff that I do, and I don't think that I would be doing any videos, any kind of music or anything like this at all if it wasn't for some sort of self-improvement. And it all started for me as well, you know, with physical training and kind of becoming more, you know, confident in myself and my ability, you could say. So yeah, the new year's rolling around. I kind of wanted to make this more of like a motivational thing, but I'm not sure if it's going to turn out that way. But yeah, anyone who's starting anything, if you are starting something, or if you don't know what to start, always start with physical training. I think it translates so well in all realms of reality that it will lead you to better things, even if you just stick with physical training and don't do anything else. I definitely would recommend starting with it. And yeah, just, you know, have belief in your own ability, and try to master life, you know, try to master the chaos of it. Do what you can to, you know, just survive, and if you can find a way to thrive through this, then do that. Yeah, I don't want to ramble too much longer. I'm not sure how long this is, and I'm sure this is probably not a video that I'm going to really make on this channel often. So if this is kind of the stuff that people like, because again, the Balthazar is just mainly about music and metal and stuff that can be somewhat related to it. Obviously this is not related to metal at all, but yeah, if you like it, please give it a like, just because it does help my motivation. And yeah, if you do like more rambly, weird talk, I do have another channel that's on my channel somewhere, so you can check it out. Perhaps I'll link it down. But yeah, I'm back again. I'm not sick anymore, so I shall try to keep the weekly uploads going, or at least almost every week, like every 10 days or something, every 12 days maybe. But yeah, that's it anyway, and yeah, have a good day, master your reality, and yeah.